This is the Algebra 2 Final Review, Part 3. Let's go ahead and look at number 17, where you are multiplying rational expressions, and we do have variables, we have exponents. So first, you would like to start, since you're multiplying fractions, you would like to start by cross simplifying. So we look at the 3 here, and I can cancel the 3 and I can reduce 9. 3 goes into 9 3 times, so I put a 3 up here. 4 goes into 8 2 times, so you cancel the 4. You can say that turns into a 1 as well. The 3 turns into a 1. For the variables, you like to cancel the ones that are across from each other. So I will start with the c to the third power, and c to the third power is down here. We have a c to the 6th, so you are going to cancel the one with the lowest exponent, and the exponent you cancel, you are going to subtract. So the 6 for the c up here, subtract 3, and you get 3. And we also have a y to the 4th, and across from it we have a y squared, so you can cancel the y squared, which is the one with the lowest exponent, and subtract the exponent to the 4, so that's going to be 2. Now, you also have y's on top of each other, so the y squared up here and the y squared down here, since they have the same variable, same exponent, they cancel. You're not going to subtract, you can just cancel the y's and this y. For the x's, common mistake, the students like to cancel those x's, but you cannot, because they're both on top, they're on the same side of the fraction. So don't cancel those x's. After you have simplified everything, you are going to multiply. So let's multiply the numbers first. We have 2 times 3, which is 6. For the x's, we have x to the 4th times x. You need to add the exponents because you're multiplying. So that's x to the 5th. We also have a c cube, the one that didn't cancel. Here on the bottom, you do have a 1 times 1, and you can put the 1 here, but everything else cancels on the bottom. But in a fraction, you don't need the 1 on the bottom. So, and notice the answers don't have a 1. So the answer is B. Sorry, not B, A. Answer is A. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at number 19, where you have to solve a rational expression. On the bottom, the denominator is x minus 5. So to get rid of the fractions of rational expression, you are going to multiply by the denominator. There's only one. So I'm going to put a big parenthesis here, and I am going to multiply by x minus 5. So when you do distribute, when you multiply, the bottom cancels with the one outside. So you are going to have the top, and I'm going to put it here on the right side of the screen, equals, and when you multiply x minus 5 times 11, you are going to have to multiply or distribute. So we have the outside 11 outside the parentheses, and we have the x minus 5 over here. So we have the trinomial on the left side, you distribute the 11 on the right side. Notice that we have 1x squared, so we need to factor, or maybe we can factor. So I am going to subtract 11x, which is the opposite, and add 55. So we know this cancels, and we have an x squared minus 10 x plus 25. So, and we have a 0. The trinomial, if you guys notice, it is a perfect square trinomial, meaning that the square root of 25 is 5, and they do add up to 10, but they have to be negative. So negative 5 and negative 5. So negative times negative is positive 25. And the x value, we have 2 of the same number, so you don't have to write it down twice. Remember to change the sign when you solve. So this is the x value. But if you guys notice, if you go back into the fraction, and I am looking at this fraction, the denominator, if you plug in the 5 into the x, you are going to get a 0. So that means that this x value doesn't work. Even though we have value, it doesn't work. So the answer is no solution. Alright, so number 20 is not solving, but you are trying to simplify. So all you want to do here is you're trying to factor and cancel whatever you can. So I am going to factor out a c squared on the top, and we can also factor out a 2. On the bottom, you can factor out a c. So I'll do the work over here. We factor out a 2, c squared on the top. So I should have a parenthesis here. So that should have z minus 3. On the bottom, you factor out a c, and when you do that, you get c minus 3 on the bottom. So notice that we do have the same binomial, top and bottom, so you can cancel, and we can also cancel one of the c's, the one on the bottom, and we have a c squared, so that turns into a 1. So all you have left is the 2 and a z. Now that's part of the question. You want to simplify. But then it says that you want to identify the z values for which the expression is undefined. So that means what variables, what values don't work for the variables on the denominator. All the options, first of all, they all have 2 z's, so it can be anything. But now, well, we know it's not a because we don't have a c squared minus 3c. But let's look at the denominator. If you look at the denominator here, if you substitute a 3 minus 3, that's going to be 0. So 3 doesn't work. And also, if you look at the c outside, if you plug in a 0, that's a 0. So the number 0 and the number 3 don't work. They're undefined. They're going to give you a 0 on the bottom. So the answer is B. Alright guys, so let's look at one more, which is 21. We do have a fraction we want to simplify, and we have trinomials, so that means we have to factor the trinomials. And if you look on the top, it is not in standard form, so first we have to get it in standard form. And I need space, so I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so I can have a lot of space over here. And I'm going to start doing the work on the right side. So the trinomial on top, first let's get it to standard form. So we have a negative x squared minus 3x plus 10. Remember that you just want to move, don't change the signs, you just move in the terms. And bottom says the same, plus 2x minus 8. Okay, so now you are going to factor. Now on the top we do have a negative in front of the x squared, so first you want to factor out the negative. So let's do that. Here's the negative, Change the signs of the trinomial because you factor out a negative. And the bottom stays the same. Now let's go ahead and start factoring. So on the bottom, we do have x, and that will be positive 4 minus 2. Positive 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And when you combine 4 and negative 2, that's positive 2, which is the middle term. Now the trinomial on the top, keep the negative, don't forget the negative. And we do have x plus 5, x minus 2, and this is an x. Okay, so we have 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. 5 minus 2 is positive 3, which is the middle term. So now we can cancel. Cancel x minus 2. And if you notice on the answers, they don't have parentheses with the negative outside. So they actually distribute the negative, and then the bottom will stay the same. So let's go ahead and write the answer. Equals, you distribute the negative. So we have negative x minus 5, and on the bottom we have x plus 4. Now the question also asks for the undefined. So that means that you have to go back to the trinomial, the bottom, and check what numbers don't work. So looking at the denominators here, well, the first binomial, if you plug in a negative 4, doesn't work. That's going to give you a 0. And don't look at the y mark, but if you look at the x, if you plug in a 2, positive 2, that's also going to give you a 0. So positive 2 and negative 4 don't work. So the answer is, or those numbers are undefined. They use the word undefined. D. Positive 2 and negative 4 are undefined.